Hello, Major Taylor Trail Keepers community. Thank you so much for joining us again this month. This month, I'm sure you recognize this face. We have Alderman Ronnie Mosley. He's the 21st Ward Alderman. He was sworn into Chicago City Council to represent the 21st Ward on May 15th, 2023, and he is currently the youngest member. He has a deep connection to the ward, having been raised there himself, and he brings a wealth of experience in policy organizing and civic engagement to his role as alderman. Mosley's journey began in public service at the age of 14 as an intern for a community development organization that serves the Auburn Gresham portion of his ward. Since then, he has been working in and with every level of government, bringing together community members and decision makers to improve opportunities and resources. Becoming an alderman allows him to dedicate himself full time to serving his community and giving back to the place that invested in him. One of Alderman Mosley's primary goals is to ensure that the 21st Ward thrives by focusing on creating community engagement strategies that bring about systematic change and continuous improvement. That's why I had him on the show. In his role as an alderman, he serves as the council's vice chair of the Committee of Economic, Capital, and Technology Development. He is also a member of several other committees, including the Budget and Government Operations, Finance and Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Now, outside of his professional and civic engagements, Alderman Ronnie Mosley resides in Chicago's Washington Heights community. He is married to his college sweetheart and is a proud parent to their golden doodle. He cherishes his role as a son, brother, and further emphasizes his commitment to family and community. And before we dig into some of the topics that we want to talk about, I have two questions. One, you're the youngest serving alderman on the council, right? Can I ask, how old are you?
21 for 21.
21 for 21.
No. I'm 32 years
32 years. Okay, wow. It's so good to know that we have our next generation is stepping up into leadership. And then I have to ask, and I have to actually check my notes. Can you please tell me, what is a proud parent to their golden doodle? What is that?
I saw your face. I was wondering. It's a play on words. It mimics parent. So, we have a dog, a pet named Sunday, like the ice cream, because that's what her mama likes.
Okay.
So it's a play on words there.
Okay.
No children for us yet, but a proud parent.
Okay, so you're a dog lover. I'm a dog lover too, as long as it's someone else's dog. No, really, I love dogs. I don't have the temperament to do the training and to walk him every day and the regiment. But okay, now I know you're a dog lover. That's a short story for a dog lover, and that is your current child.
That's how I got to the trail. I brought Sunday with me.
Okay.
My first walk.
Awesome. Well, that's good. You got to bring him out again. You got to bring him. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about getting you out on the trail. So I want to kind of dive into some of the topics. We only have a few minutes to talk. I want to dive into. There's several reasons that I asked you on the show. One is we know about your commitment to community engagement and economic development, but your predecessor, before the restructuring took place, Alderman Carrie Austin. I don't know if you know the history. You probably do. I'm sure you've been briefed. But she played a pivotal role, not just in the trail getting up and running, but she is the primary reason that the trail was named Major Taylor. Now, the story was told in one of my first interviews when I interviewed Luann, who was instrumental working for the city when the trail was being developed, that the five aldermen couldn't really agree on a name for the trail. They had all types of names that had nothing to do with Major Taylor. And that the story was that Carrie wanted the trail to be named after someone that would mean something to the community residents, because at that time, about 70% of the trail went through her ward. She did some research, came up with Major Taylor, and I have been told that she had purchased the biography of Major Taylor and gave it to all of the other aldermen. They read it, and then it was unanimous that, yes, this trail is going to be named Major Taylor. And so I don't know if you also know that this is right now the only trail in the U.S. named after him. I think there's some being built, but right now that's the only trail named after him. And the mural at 111th was the first mural dedicated to him. So I'm saying all that to kind of lead up to my first question, that, the 21st Ward, now that it's been restructured, has a significant portion of the trail. I think it's at least 80, maybe even as much as 90% of the trail is in now our 21st Ward. Can you shed some light on what your commitment, being the new 21st Ward Alderman, what will be your commitment to continuing to support and advocate for the Major Taylor Trail?
Yeah, Dr. Dixon, I am proud of our trail.
Okay.
And I'm thankful for the work that you all do.
Oh, thank you.
Because one of the things that I noticed, you're right, after the merger happened, Old 34 and Old 21 came back together, the trail was the thing that I saw to unite us all.
Yes.
It runs through our ward. And when you talk about that history, that are just ways to talk about more history throughout our ward, we want this shining example to be just really amplified so that neighbors, visitors, leadership all know what's possible. And I think it's a true testament to the ward. So you count me as a strong supporter.
Got you on record.
Everything
you on record.
From
Strong
being
supporter.
on the trail, it's a place that I go to just have a mental break. But also transportation has always been vital to the 21st Ward. And as we shift away from a car-centric city and explore more and more means of transportation, I want to make sure that folks know, hey, right here in the 21st Ward, we have one of the best things around.
Yeah, I often refer to our trail as Chicago's hidden and underutilized gem. We look forward to the day where there's amenities of artwork and other things along the trail from start to finish, the way you see some of our other modern trails. You look at the Lakefront Trail, different places, you see different pieces of artwork, things that just make it beautiful, a more pleasant place to sit and relax. And I look forward to that day coming. I'm really happy and proud that some of the strides that we have made, and Carrie Austin was instrumental in this, because there was a point in time where the Park District, and I don't want to speak badly, they didn't even maintain it. They didn't even mow the lawn the way they should. But now I would say at least the last 5 or 6 years, they have been on point. I mean, literally, the new area manager, I think her name is Sabrina. Ever since she took Sabrina, that's her name. When she took over, the city has been on point with maintaining everything that is along the trail. So now we're just focusing on getting those safety improvements and getting more beautification done to the trail. And it's so comforting to know that we will have your support as we advocate for that. Because whenever we go out for grants, one of the first things that they want to know, hey, well, do you have a letter of support from the alderman? Yes. So,
yes.
Okay, so we'll be...
And not just, you not only have my commitment, you really have Chicago's commitment, right? Like, trails and rails, it was new for the city. And so we have a dedicated person for that.
Oh, good.
But just like you spoke about Ms. Stewart for the Park District, she's a resident of the 21st Ward.
Yes.
Your deputy mayor of infrastructure, who's responsible for like the very same folks that we need to convene, like CDOT and so forth. 21st Ward resident.
Oh, wow.
The planning commissioner, because like as we talk about having this destination, what do we want to see there? We're going to have to develop that plan.
Yeah.
They're a 21st Ward resident. So
Okay.
you got a lot of folks right here, and I know you're a 21st Ward resident.
Yes.
So we're all here, and I think that's going to make a world of difference.
Well, that is so comforting to know. You can just kind of have your staff have a standard letter of support for us when we're going after these grants. So one of the other things that I want to talk about, which you kind of have touched on a little bit already, but the city's stance on supporting the trail, and are there any key initiatives or plans that you know of that are in the works that will be rolled out that you want to shed light on and let everyone know for the first time here?
Well, one, I've been enjoying the table that we sat with all these different partners. The trail is composed of from the city, the Park District, which is the sister agency, and Department of Transportation, which lies within city government. Yet also Cook County,
Yes.
So it's bringing those folks together and making sure that you have the advocates and the champions that you all have been, and the leadership to help support that. So that convening is really monumental within itself. Having that dedicated person is another monumental pillar to the structure that we're trying to build, and the commitment to actually developing a plan so that we can move forward. And when I walk the trail, it hurts me to see that the houses and things are turned away.
Yeah.
We want to have things that are turned to the trail that will bring folks to the trail, and really highlight it. So, I'm talking about parks. As we think about Morgan Park Commons, what does that look like as well? Housing development that's happening there. And then the different modes of transportation, the juice bar that's coming on 111.
Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe if we have time towards the end.
Okay.
But yeah, and you mentioned how people's backs are to the trail. I think that's a challenge for almost any and every Rails to Trails project, no matter where it is in the country, because railroads are something that people typically want to turn their backs to. When you convert it to a trail, now the challenge is how do we get people to now face the trail? So I think that's an issue that's not unique to our trail, but to all of the Rails to Trails projects. And we want, it's been over 20 years that the trail has been there, and I want us to somehow accelerate the improvements, because our trail literally runs through, which I know I'm telling you things you already know, but reiterating this to our public, it runs through the heart of the South Side, with starting at 83rd and the Dan Ryan Woods, all the way down to the river. And it, because of its name alone, it would be a tourist attraction, but we haven't capitalized on putting other amenities there that gives people a reason to really, when they come to visit Chicago, we want people to say, hey, we need to make sure we go on the Major Taylor Trail. We heard that there's something really spectacular going on there. And that's the end goal now that Sabrina has worked her magic, and it is maintained. I am thankful that the Park District portion of the trail is almost always immaculately maintained. When it's not, if we call, I kid you not, and I'm not saying this because the alderman is here, but when we email Sabrina, the Park District, less than 24 to 36 hours, whatever the issue was, it's been taken care of. So, all right, we got a lot more to talk about here in only a few minutes. Now, we heard, I hear a lot of things, okay? But I heard that there's going to be some protective bike lanes that's supposed to stretch out the 105th Street and go up Vincennes, because I know you're familiar, but let me just familiarize our viewers that are not as familiar with the trail. The path on the trail going north does not work. Nobody uses it because it expects you to go and turn north on 105th and Vincennes and then try to cut across over to Charles Street with no stop sign, no stoplights, nothing. And so we had met with your Department of Planning, and they were trying to come up with some alternative routes, but they did talk about the fact that there are going to be protective bike lanes going along going along Vincennes. They didn't make commitments to how they would solve the problem, but they're working with us to try to solve the issue. But I just want your take on protective bike lanes on Vincennes and throughout the rest of our the rest of the city for that matter. But can you speak to that? Where do you stand?
They've been moving throughout the city. The city has been piloting the program. So already on Vincennes, there's some protected bike lanes. And so we're studying and seeing how that works. Now, obviously, it is a shift in our culture.
Right.
We get calls about the bike lanes and how they have disrupted that behavior.
Traffic. Yeah.
And so I think there's some creativity that we can do there, whether it's on the actual road or looking at shared sidewalks and easements and so forth. Metro owns a lot of that property that is there. And so what would it look like to create just an oasis to have that entry points and wayfinding to Major Taylor Trail, and even stopping at points like Leor's Cafe right there on 105th and Halsted and so forth. So all those destinations, but overall we got to keep everyone safe.
Right.
Not just drivers, but also the folks who are riding in the bike lanes, and also the folks who are walking.
Yeah, in our community, the culture is still, if you see someone on the street on their bike, people want to yell and say, hey, get off the road, get on the sidewalk, not even being cognizant that it's illegal if you're over the age of 12 to ride your bike on the sidewalk. So there really does need to be not just a cultural shift in mindset towards cycling, but in education. It's something that I have always thought might be great. I don't know if the city would ever consider it, but doing PR, we put a commercial out for everything else that we find important, but maybe the city could start putting out promotional commercials to talk about cycling so that we can our culture can shift to one that if it's less than a mile, we're not going to drive our car. We can ride our bike we can ride our bike to get to our destination. So just food for thought.
Well, don't forget about, so you talked about the education, and then there's also the enforcement. The city's also looked at smart streets that would automatically give notices about folks who are parked in a bike lane and so forth.
I know that we had you had invited us to the open house held at Julian High School that focused on new development coming at the 21st Ward. And I was so excited, and I don't want to give it away. I would like you to talk about, can you kind of give us a rundown of, what's cooking, what's happening, what are some of the new developments that we can anticipate for those that couldn't make it out to that meeting? It was an amazing meeting for those of you that were not there. But share with us.
I'll lead with the lead that almost $1 billion is coming to the 21st Ward.
Hey.
And you are seeing things in
you
just
talk to your audience. Talk to your audience.
So many aspects that we need. Whether we're talking about restaurants, whether we're talking about health facilities like dentists, office, whether we're talking about shelter for our own youth. And then, of course, why we did it at Julian High School was because of the new turf and track field that Julian's going to get. This is a field that has been essentially the same field since it's open.
Yeah.
So over 50 years. So we're really, really excited about it. To one, have the developers there to connect and hear that feedback from residents, but then also give those same developers an opportunity to connect with the city. And we got great marks on it, and I believe it's going to be an annual event in the 21st Ward.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that. I really am. So now let's talk about some other things that are happening on the trail. And this is information that is literally hot off the press. I just found out yesterday, and my entire board was all like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So, talking about economic development, right at 111th, the intersection of the trail, the building that the historic murals has sat on since, I think it was 2008 that was installed. And that people come from all over the country, and even people when they come from other countries to our city, if they're cyclists, they know that there's this mural at 111th. People come onto the trail sometimes just to get their picture in front of that mural. It was the first mural that was ever dedicated to Major Taylor. And I just found out yesterday when I had lunch with the new owner that the mural is going to be taken down. She's opening up a beautiful coffee and smoothie shop in that location, and in order for her to get the building up to code, and I hope I'm not misquoting anything that she shared, the building has to be re-bricked. She did agree, because she understands the significance of that mural being a landmark to the south side. So she's already agreed to having it put back up if she's not able to preserve it. And just we're going to need to raise funds fast, quick, and in a hurry. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of am. If you know of any resources that we could tap into to get a quick turnaround of whatever is needed, whether it's a support for her business to find a way to preserve it, or if it's funding for the trail keepers to simply recommission an artist to replicate it. Or one of the other ideas that we talked about in our board chat was maybe having a vinyl, having it a replica of it created and making it into a billboard that could be hung. That's the exact replica of it. Whereas now, if the building another 20 years from now needs to be redone, okay, we just take the billboard down and put it back up. So we're looking at several options, but whatever the option is, it's going to cost money.
Yeah. I mean, first, I have a picture in front of the mural. We have a picture.
We all do. Everybody has a picture.
A picture in front of that mural.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that it is protected and it is something that can be with us, even if it's not right there at that location. But that means that we got to do more around wayfinding and branding of the trail. And you know what? I was told that there's a promise for Major Taylor to have a field house. And I think that may be the final home. That may be for where the mural goes.
Okay. Well, any support, just know that we'll be reaching out to you to figure out a solution. I'm hoping.
What can folks donate? Let's get this.
We can't ask for donations on this show because it's a public show. But people know how to get to our website. But we will be reaching out because whatever we do, if we end up going for a grant, we're going to need that letter of support for whatever it is we're doing. Even if it's just us raising funds on our own, we want to be able to have a statement that, hey, the alderman is supporting this. We're praying that...
You'll have my present, not just a statement.
We're hoping and praying that because the last text that I got from the owner, she's actually talking to her contractor to see if there is a way that they can just preserve it. So we'll see. But I just wanted to let you know because that is literally news that's hot off the press. But it leads me into one other topic that I wanted to talk about, and that because you said wayfinding.
Yes.
Now I know this is not your ward, but you're part of a larger city council. Okay, from 95th to 105th, and I'm not going to rehash the history of why that goes through CDOT and not on the trail. But when I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with, I can't remember his name, from CDOT. He had said that CDOT didn't have any opposition to having signage on each city block because the biggest challenge with that section of our trail is that people they get lost. They don't know that they're supposed to turn right if they're traveling south. They're supposed to turn right when they get to 96. Oh, they're supposed to turn left when they get to Prospect. Oh, yeah, you're at 105th. You're supposed to turn left. So I don't know. I know that's not your ward. So I know you can't make any promises or commitments to something that's not in your ward. But even if you could support, because the rest of the trail is in our ward, your support, because they said they had no opposition. They just needed to we needed to find a funding source to get the signs made for the mile markers and the directional markers. And so, again, I know you can't commit to anything outside of your ward, but you can support something that's for the greater good of the trail.
I have an upcoming meeting with the folks at CDOT around streetscape.
Okay.
And I know what helps those conversations is who will maintain it. Well, the trail keepers are going to keep the trail.
Yes, we do.
And I'll commit to working with my partners, my colleagues, and sharing a recommendation. Yeah,
and the signs once they're installed, they don't really need the signs that are there now for wayfinding, they've been there since the trail was installed.
Really?
Yeah. So the signs don't really require any ongoing maintenance. Now, one of the other improvements that we're working on that I did CC your office on to make sure, like anytime we're doing anything, I always CC your chief of staff so that you're not what you all doing what at 107. But we're in communications with Sabrina, and we're submitting a proposal to get a park bench right at 107 and some so a little bit of some perennial landscaping there, and we know. Yes, the trail keepers would maintain, which we do anyway. We go out and we cut back when the perennials are overgrowing, so we would do that. But we're really excited about that, and I'm assuming because your chief of staff didn't say no, that you guys are on board with that improvement coming.
Yes.
Actually, it's going to be filmed I'm hoping, I don't know what the date is, but I'm hoping and praying that the day that because we're going to have students do the planting, I'm hoping that it's a day that works with your schedule, because that would be kind of cool for the students to be able to see, the aldermen out there as they are doing the planting. And I've got to wrap up here. It's been so great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about our beloved trail. And I've got to mention who we are having next month. Next month, we have Danielle McKinney, who's one of the initial volunteers with the Southside Critical Mass, and she will be coming in to talk to us about what is the Southside Critical Mass. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Alderman Mosley, for coming. And we may have to do this again because there's still so much that we need to talk about that I didn't even get a chance to get to. All right, take care. Bye.